Europe na Africa yothe, Asia na America, Kikuyu diaspora radio, Gituge kia rurere.
Hello, and Jambo. We are back. It's Esther from Leicester, and today I have a very special guest. And therefore, as we get started, make sure you invite your friends and you invite everyone else, and let us know where you're tuning in from. So, Jambo from Leicester, and this is what's your name?
Yeah, I'm Neil. I'm Esther's husband, and Jambo, Karibu. Welcome to everybody who's joining us today.
Well done. I like the way you said Jambo and Karibu. So I've been doing good lessons, you see. I've not only been just teaching the people on the KDM, I've been teaching my husband here to say Hakuna Matata, KDM, Hakuna Matata. Do you know that song that says Jambo bwana, habari gani, mzuri sana? Do you know that one? Would you like to try, or shall we just welcome people from different continents of the world? Yes, shall we try? Yeah. Jambo bwana, habari gani, mzuri sana, wageni mwakaribishwa.
I lose it from there.
Yeah, there we go. So we are saying visitors are welcome, everybody's welcome, and we would like you to know where you're tuning in from, and how many continents do we normally call out people from? Do you know? How many continents of the world?
There's 7 continents in the world, isn't there?
Fantastic. Would you be able to name a few while I kind of set up the YouTube on this side?
Yeah, we'll start in Europe, where we're broadcasting from today. We've got Africa, of course, North and South America, Asia, Australasia, and lastly Antarctica, although I'm not so sure many people will be tuning in from Antarctica. A bit too cold, I think. But you'd be welcome if you did.
Fantastic. So karibu from wherever you're tuning in, and let's know where you're tuning in today so that we can be able to welcome you. Like we are saying, KDM, Hakuna Matata. You can listen to us through the app. You can listen to us through Facebook Live. You can listen to us through YouTube Live. And you can also call us on the telephone number, and Josie will be putting the number there in a moment so that we can be able to connect with you. And as we get prepared to welcome you to today's session, I don't know whether, Josie, you have any song to get us started as we just get the plan going ahead. Today we are looking at being physical. So Josie, if you have a song with you on that side, please just let us get started, and then we'll be moving on to the topic of the day on Spices of Life from Esther from Leicester with Neil Hutchings today. Mr. Twist.
muone muthaka kana murungaro tigwa ciarirwo rutĩirwo thogora mũnene mawĩra marĩa maritũ nĩmo ndarutaga mbeca ndanyita ikombũka ta rũkũngũ rwa thĩ ngĩhinyĩrĩrĩka ngoro yakwa ĩkĩinama nginya ngĩoya kuona ta ndombirwo na mahĩtia tondũ nĩ kũraya Ngai andutĩte ndirikanaga ũguo ngaigua ta ingĩita maithori ndĩrĩ wa kwendeka ĩtha ndaiguĩrĩirwo ithabu-inĩ rĩa andũ a bata ndingĩoneirwo andũ tondũ nĩ kũraya Ngai andutĩte ndirikanaga ũguo ngaigua ta ingĩita maithori maandĩko moigaga harĩa wakinyĩra mũico hau nĩho Ngai witũ ambagĩrĩria ndakinyĩte mũico ngorwo nĩ hinya no Ngai akĩnjiguĩra tha akĩnjikia mbere na tondũ kũrĩ andũ mahana ũrĩa ndarĩ ndĩrenda ndĩmere atĩ nĩ kũrĩ na mwĩhoko tondũ nĩ kũraya Ngai andutĩte ndirikanaga ũguo ngaigua ta ingĩita maithori ndĩrĩ wa kwendeka ĩtha ndaiguĩrĩirwo ithabu-inĩ rĩa andũ a bata ndingĩoneirwo andũ tondũ nĩ kũraya Ngai andutĩte ndirikanaga ũguo ngaigua ta ingĩita maithori ndĩrĩ wa kwendeka ĩtha ndaiguĩrĩirwo ithabu-inĩ rĩa andũ a bata ndingĩoneirwo andũ tondũ nĩ kũraya Ngai andutĩte ndirikanaga ũguo ngaigua ta ingĩita maithori
Karibu tena. You're very much welcome. And tonight, today, this morning, whatever time it is where you're tuning from, I have a special guest today because we are talking about being physical. And being physical is being in those physical spaces where you can be able to deal with people, human to human, like I have this human in front of me here. So just a quick recap of what we've been doing. And one of the things we've been doing is to talk about the self-concept, how we see ourselves, how we perceive ourselves, and then the purposes we have for this life, and then marry the self-concept with the purpose. And then we look at where we are, the real self at the moment, and then work towards the ideal self. But before I continue, I can ask him, Mr. Hutchings, my darling Neil, are you feeling like the type of life or the level of life you are now is the most ideal for you? Or are you feeling like there is a place where you would like to go? So tell the audience as I have a look at who is joining us before I welcome them to join us. Do you feel like it's the ideal? Do you feel like there's something you are looking forward to in this life?
I think it's quite ideal for me, actually. I'm very content in life. Of course, there's always more to experience and more to achieve in life. And if I'm blessed with those opportunities in the future, then I'll gladly accept them. But I'm generally quite a contented person, and yeah, life's good at the moment.
Yeah, and one of the things we normally do is to self-examine, we need to know where we are at. And I use the Bible, we do read the Bible in this house. And one of the websites said to me that there are more than 100 verses that say examine yourself. And before we do that, we just need to recognize everyone who we had welcomed from all the continents of the world. Your host is Esther from Leicester, of course, with my special guest today. But before I do that, let me just see who is joining us. And there's quite a lot of love coming through. So we have Josie Rish, who is our director, our producer on the other side. And she said, I'm loving this. Karibu sana, Esther, and your husband. Gladys Mine is saying, yes, Wanyuk, it's by God's grace. That's through the song that we've just heard. It's only by God's grace. By the way, it's by God's grace that we are sitting in front of this screen now at the moment. So Karibu sana. Cheruyot Stevens is saying, he's talking about politics, about the hustler and everything else. I don't know why he brought the topic of hustling here, but whoever is doing politics, they're very much welcome. And then we have Adlight Jane joining us and was dancing very much to the music. And then Esther Mbage. And then we have Rachel Ray, our own presenter here, saying Karibu Sana, our great fans. And she's tagged quite a number of people. And then we have our own Pastor David Kahoy, who is joining us. And then we have Esther Mbage joining us. We have other people who have been tagged by our own Rachel Ray, Julian Wanjiro, Karibu Sana, you're saying you're tuned in. Simon Peter Simon, you're saying you're tuned in. Lakini tell him to speak Kiswahili. You need to speak a bit more of Swahili. They're saying so. Can you say another jambo so that they know you can say jambo and Karibu Sana?
Yeah, jambo.
So tell Jambo Simon. This is Jambo Simon. Yeah. Say hi again, Jambo Simon, so that Simon knows that you're speaking Swahili. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jambo Simon.
Yeah.
Simon Karibu.
Yeah, I like that one. And then Alice Jerry saying she's watching from Saudi Arabia. Abilisa says, I salute you, Esther, and your darling. So Abilisa is one of the girls we've been communicating to in Nairobi. So you know her a little bit. I've shown you a few of her photos. Then Zipporah Gitao says she's tuned in, and blessings and more blessings. That is Abilisa. So tell your friends, welcome them, tag them, share these, and let them know that the people are being physical today. I don't know how much physical we are going. I don't know what you're expecting, but I am in the physical space with Mr. Darling here. And if you find me being a bit nervous, it's because I have a guest. I'm just used to being in the studio on my own. But today we're in our little living room, and that's where we are. And hopefully he will be relaxed while I'm getting relaxed as well. So it's about self-concept. It's about the purposes that we serve. We've been talking about being spiritual. And last time, one of the things I was talking about of being spiritual is that we are being spiritual at the same time physical. And we live in these spaces of being physical to live out our spiritual aspect of life. And if you've missed any of our talks, please visit this on YouTube on the KDM platform, and you can be able to watch all the other sessions that we've been doing. But this particular week, like I'm saying, we are talking about being physical. Being physical. And this is the second level of our discussions in our objectives. And we are moving on. And next time we could be talking about being intellectual. So that I'm not the only one talking, and people want you to talk Swahili and they want to talk you. Do you know what being physical or being spiritual is in Swahili, or would you like to know?
I would like to know.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the audience to be telling us spiritual. What does spiritual mean in Swahili, or how can we define it in Swahili so that we can teach Muzungu how to say spiritual in Swahili? And then how do we say the physical in Swahili so that we can be able to teach Muzungu how to say, yeah, do you know who Muzungu is? And do you know what the meaning of Muzungu is?
Yeah, that's me. I'm the white guy. That's Muzungu.
The white guy.
Now, I would say to Simon,
yeah,
understanding Swahili is much easier than speaking it. So I can sometimes understand, but speaking it is more difficult.
Fantastic, but you're learning and you do understand. So sometimes when I'm speaking, you do understand it. So that's a very good point of view and a good starting point. So I'm asking my audience, we need to teach Muzungu right now. What do we say, or how do we say spiritual, and how do we say physical in Swahili so that we can be able to teach him a little bit? And let me see whether there's some answers coming. So that, okay, Shikoyemi Mary is laughing. So Mary, we are trying to learn a bit Swahili. I did tell you we'll be learning a bit of Swahili as well. So my Swahili speakers, my Kikuyu speakers, how do we say spiritual? How do we say physical? Even if you tell me in Kikuyu or in Kiswahili, he can be able to learn both at the same time. Now, we are speaking about the physical being. Now, when I was talking about last week about being spiritual, I said we need to have 3 friends. The 4th one is an enemy. Do you have an idea who these 4 friends are?
I've got an idea.
Okay, could you be able to tell me who is our number 1 friend?
So I say the number 1 friend to everybody should be God.
Yes, I believe so. God should be our number 1 friend. That's recap from last week. And who should be our friend number 2?
Yourself.
yourself. So you should be a friend of your spirit person. And who should be the friend number 3?
Friend number 3. Now you'll have to remind me of that.
Okay, the friend
The
number
other
3
person.
is you. Every other person is my friend number 3. Maybe among those number 3s, you could have
Everyone
a special
else.
place. Yeah,
The number 3 is everyone else.
I think so. But maybe sometimes you can have special friends for those number 3. So number 3 top, number 3 level, number 3, depending on where you place those people. I think so, right? But before I move on to that, right? When I first knew you, and even now, I normally sing a song that says, "Nobody loves me like you love me, Jesus." So before you became born again, how did it make you feel that you are not and you will never be my friend number 1?
Well, now let me think. When I first knew you, I remembered you turning around and saying to me that God is always number 1 in my life. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that's competition for me. And I thought, well, okay, number 2 is not bad if I've only got God to compete with.
Yeah. And you became comfortable with it.
Of course.
Are you sure?
And,
so when I'm singing here in the
later
house,
years,
"Nobody loves me like you love me," it doesn't make you feel like a little bit of, this Esther is too much with...
Of course not.
Okay. So at the moment, I believe we share that common position of our friend number 1 being God.
Well,
So,
of course, God is my number 1 as well.
okay,
And
I'm glad.
so I'm number 2 and you're number 3. So
Excellent.
we're in the same position now.
Brilliant. Now, when I talk about this friendship, do you know where this idea of levels of friends come from? Did you hear? I don't know whether you were in our last session last week.
No.
And the week before,
working.
you're working. And the week before?
No,
okay.
I wasn't. The last 2 weeks, no.
Yeah, but you know the book of Genesis, right?
Oh, of course.
I try not to read a lot of the biblical verses, but you know the book of Genesis. You have an idea. So at the beginning, there was God. And then who was the second person in that place?
Of course, Adam.
Adam, the human being. And then who was the third person?
That would be Eve.
Eve. And then who was the fourth person that came in spirit form, in form of a snake?
Yes, that's the devil.
That's the devil. So when I talk about the 4 levels of friends, I use Genesis. And that's where I get this idea of that type of friendship. And so that we can involve everyone. Yeah. And I see people are joining in. And by the way, you can watch on YouTube Live, and you can watch also on Facebook Live. You can watch on the app, and you can call us at the same time. So Michael Jones, Karibu Sana. Simon Peter says, sure. Gladys Minor says, thanks. Francis Gemma is watching there. And you know that lady there, what's her name? Mary
Okoro.
Oh, Mary Okoro, you know Mary. And then will you be able to read this other name here?
Carol
Koi.
Koi.
Yes. And then we have Peter Mbuthia from my village formerly, and now lives in the US. He's also watching. And then we have Shiko Moniu, Karibu Sana. Shiko Moniu, thank you so much. Now, spiritual, we have somebody giving us an answer. So the word is Kiroho. Are you able to say Kiroho?
Kiroho.
Yeah.
Kiroho
is spiritual. So roho.
Is that Swahili or?
Yeah, it's Swahili. Okay. Kiroho is the spirit, the spiritual. Okay. And then physical, she's given us Kimwili. Mwili. Mwili is the body. So Kimwili. Kiroho, Kimwili. Okay. So Simon Peter, hopefully you're happy now so that we can be able to learn a few. So Kiroho, Kimwili, after this session.
Kiroho,
Kimwili. So you'll be learning a little bit more. So Simon Peter is saying, God, yourself, and every other person. And then being aware of the 4th friend, who is an accuser. He's not very friendly. And then Gladys Minor said, God, yourself, others, and be aware of the devil. And then Maggie Joroge is saying, Karibu Sana. Now, I want to involve everybody in as much as I'm involving this 3rd person here. You also are the 3rd person. So earlier on, or it's earlier on today, I had posted a question on Facebook. So I'm going to post that question to you, pose it to you, and also pose to our audience today so that they can be able to also tell us a few of the blessings they have. So whether it's in the physical or in the spiritual, I have a question for you. Mention at least one blessing today. Yeah, if you had at least one blessing today, what would it be? And then we will be seeing what the audience is giving us, and also I'll be able to read a few responses from my friends earlier on.
Well, I think for me, if you'd have asked me that question this afternoon, I would have said that the blessing is a blessing of healing, because I've been doing some DIY and I've been aching and pains in the arms and legs. So the power of healing is a blessing. But asking me now at this moment, I think this experience now, being able to talk to you guys around the world, that is a blessing. So you never know what blessings are going to come and in what format.
I know why you didn't say about the aches and pains, because I challenged you earlier. You said you've been working. What have I been doing then when you've been working?
What have you been doing?
Yes, because you said it's you who has aches and pains, and you are thankful that the aches and pains.
You've been working in your own way, darling.
Okay, thank you very much. Because I challenged you earlier and I said, if you say just the aches and pains and you've been working, it looks like Esther has not been working. Okay, of course, I've been cheering you, and that's good as well. I think that's a different type of working. Anyway, let's see what people are saying on this other side. Simon Peter has appreciated so much, saying, yeah, I am okay with that, Esther, and I appreciate so much. You've learned Kiroho, Kimwili. Okay, you've learned those
Asante
two words.
sana, Peter.
I like that. Say it again, huh?
Asante sana.
Asante sana. Thank you so much. So Teresa Muriu is saying, my blessing is the gift of life. That is Teresa Muriu. And you see these words here. You can be able to read for me this later as I read this one. These were the earlier Facebook responses. And I think the font is big enough for you to be able to read that one. But for now, Teresa Muriu says, Teresa Moiro says, my blessing is a gift of life. So she's appreciating the gift of life she has. And then Shekoyemi Mary's sisterhood, having sister to pray with and chat with in life. Yeah. And I think, Mary Shekoyemi, I think I'm one of your that sister. So I'm happy that I have you as well. Then Joy Keremi saying, God bless you all. She's saying, may God bless us all. And then Gladys Miner is saying, the gift of life is one of my blessing today. Okay, so for that, you can be able to help me. Can you be able to read a few of these blessings that were posted earlier from Facebook? So that is Mohito Kabete. What did she say?
Yeah, she says good health, beautiful family.
And then Wash Monyiri, sorry.
Yeah, I'm reading your comments soberly. And
yeah, that's it. She just said that. And then we have Arori Samuel. What did he say?
Seeing all my parents alive, my siblings and all my friends alive, free oxygen. I thank God for that. Of course, we do thank God for family and friends.
Excellent. And then Joaquin Dungu, this is a girl you know.
Yep, life.
Yes, and then Malefu Saile said,
having all that I need.
And then Jacinta Carlos said,
I woke up this morning with health and strength.
And then Sylvia Ndungu said,
life and happiness.
And then Evans Omundi,
breath.
And Anne Wanjiro,
life and peace of mind.
And then Emily Hope,
salvation.
Bilisa,
gift of life.
And Hester Jill,
coffee with a friend.
So most of them, there is
very
one particular, positive. Yes, and there's one particular line that is going, and I can see Josirish is on the other side, say, Karibu Sana Mzungu, and tuned in from Missouri. That is Josie on the other side of YouTube. And keep on welcoming people so that they can join as many as they can. So when we look at these blessings, we can see life is one of the importance a lot. Everybody say breath of life, happiness, and all that. And then there's this person here with a third friend. They remember to bring in coffee with somebody. So remember today on the Spices of Life, we are talking about being physical, and we are looking at the self-concept on the basis of how we perceive our physical being and what the purpose of all this is about. And then we have always said purpose serves a need, and we will be able to find today, what does our physical being, what are some of the purposes our physical being serves? And we may be looking through, like asking questions like, who are you? Can you define yourself in the same way we did last week in the spiritual sense? And then we'll start looking at the self-awareness, and then through the lens of the three people, God as number one, your spirit as number 2, because your physical being needs to be able to be friendly with your spiritual being as well, and then the other person, and being aware of the 4th person. We will start by self-examining each other through general questions, and maybe later on go on specific question. Are you comfortable with that, Mr. Mzungu?
Okay with that.
Are you okay? So in the past, I've talked about self-rediscovery, okay? And I've already asked you the question of the real self and the ideal self. Yeah, I have one more question. Yeah, in your life, who influences you the most?
Influences me now, or who has influenced me?
I think, let's say now, and then you can also say in the past as well.
Of course, now it would be you. And I think that's because we are influenced by those people that are closest to us, those that we love and that love us.
So how have I influenced you? You're making me feel good already without even really knowing how I have how have I influenced you?
Because you encourage me, you love me, you introduce me to new experiences. You sometimes push me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. So are you comfortable today?
It's not what I would normally be comfortable doing, but I'm here. I'm enjoying it. I'm here to support you, and you're introducing me to new experiences, and that's what influence you have on my life.
Excellent. And in the past, who has influenced you?
Probably my grandfather.
Okay.
He did instill in me good moral values. Also, I mean, I was a young boy, and my grandfather was good with cars and DIY, and I really enjoyed that. So that was a very big influence on me. And often when I'm doing something, I'll think, how would my grandfather have tackled that problem?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, obviously, my parents, they've been an influence on me, because they bring you up, as I'm sure most people's parents would have been a big influence on them, because they bring you up. They show you the right and wrong way to live life. They guide you. They introduce you to life.
Excellent. And I'm going to ask the audience the same question. Who has influenced you the most, whether in the spiritual or in the physical? I'd like to know, because everybody has different people who influence them in different ways. At the office, the number you can call is +1 2 0 5 9 0 5 6 4 4 0. And when you call, if you want to ask questions or you want to comment via the telephone, then please press *5 so that we can see you have raised your hand, and then we can be able to respond to you. Otherwise, you're very welcome. So as we kind of progress on, I would like to know who has influenced you and how have they influenced you, so that we can be able to know what is it or who is it that influences us in life as we move on to this next level. And as we kind of wait for the responses of who has influenced you, I want to take you back to the rediscovering of ourselves in the past. I want to take
you. So, can you tell the audience who influences you?
Oh.
You're asking these questions. I'm sure people would like to know, who influences you.
So you didn't want that question to escape?
No.
Okay. So who has influenced me? Now, do you want now? I'm asking you the same questions, or do you want the past? Okay, before I do that, I'm welcoming a lady named Nancy Kea from Dubai. And I'm also welcoming Sarah Mwasia, tuned in from Seattle. Okay, and I'm thinking, who has influenced me? Okay, when I was growing up, I grew up around my grandma, and she has influenced me in so many ways. She was not educated, but you see, it's not just about education, right? The stories she used to tell me would take me in the past, and then I wanted a better future for myself so that I don't end up maybe not educated. I wanted education. So she was not educated, but she influenced me and pushed me into the levels of education. Then I would say my village mate friends, just around the village, the way I was growing, friends had a lot of influence. But top on the list are my teachers. The teachers were a great influence. So, and that's why I became one today. Now, in the current life now, at the moment, you're one of my influences. You have taught me really to love, and you have taught me how to accept other people. You have taught me kindness in a different way. So thank you very much. Have I answered your questions? And God continues anyway to influence me. Like I said, that my friend number one is always God. So God influences me. Then I encourage myself, but I can't necessarily say I've influenced me. So I have to be influenced by the people around me.
So would you agree that it's those people that we love and those that love us that are the greatest influences on us?
They are, yeah, I would say so. And sometimes you can be influenced by people you don't love. You know, when people do negative things to you, or you think that they're not leading you in the right paths, so you can decide, I don't want to be like them. Yeah, I don't want to follow their path. I want to be different. Okay, I think so. I don't know whether people accept or they don't accept, but that's one of the ways I think I can be influenced by, even not the positive, also the negative aspects of life, because I say no to that negative aspect of life. Okay.
So I will take credit for teaching you to smile.
What do you mean? That I don't know how to smile? Okay, explain to the audience what you exactly mean with that.
Okay, I'll explain. So when I first met Esther,
Yeah.
and we'd look at photos, and I'd be like, "Why do you never smile? You're just so serious." And as the years have gone by, I've said you should smile more. And she's got a beautiful smile, and she does smile more. So I take credit for that one.
Well done. Congratulations. Well done. Yes, that's something I took from you, because I think we grow up in an environment where we think poverty has really brought us down, and we are always feeling like, oh, why this? We are self-pitying ourselves. We are kind of just sad. And I didn't think there was any reason for smiling. But then I have learned to smile. Even when things are not so beautiful, I still smile, because I know it's a good thing to do. So I'm asking questions. Who has influenced you, and how have they influenced you? Have they influenced you from a negative point of view or from a positive point of view? Please tell us, because we would like to know. I always say my sessions are very interactive. And the other question I'm going to ask you is this one. Since you woke up in the morning, what is one or two physical things that you are aware of doing? Even you, Mr. Darling, Hooch Mzungu here, I'm asking you, since you woke up in the morning, what's one of the physical things you have done that you're aware of, that you have done these physical things? Remember, we are talking about being physical, and sometimes we don't think so much about our physical presence or our physical essence. So what is one of the things, or one or two things you've done since you woke up in the morning? And I'm asking this question also to the audience as they also continue giving me some of the influences.
Of course, a lot of things you just do automatically. I think in the physical realm, a lot of things are through habit. Of course, I always wake up to the bathroom, downstairs, a cup of coffee.
What do you call that bathroom activity, Jimmy?
Bathroom?
No, not. Yeah, you teach us a bit of slang. You know, I said people will be learning. You call it what?
I call it a Jimmy Riddle.
Jimmy,
it just means going to the toilet.
Jimmy Riddle. What about, why do people call it a penny something?
Because back in the...
What do you call it, first of all?
Spending a penny.
Spending a penny.
I believe it stems from more than 100 years ago in Victorian times in the UK.
Yeah.
You used to have to put 1p into the public toilets to be able to go and relieve yourself. So it became known as spending a penny.
All right. You see, you learn a bit of Swahili, and then you teach us a bit of your practices, because I didn't know why it was called I'm going to pee. Is it the same way?
That's right.
Pee.
Yeah, that's
so
where the
pee
pee
is the
comes from.
pence. Okay. So from now on, when you're going to spend a penny, when people say I'm going to pee, okay, people don't necessarily say that, but when you go to do a Jimmy Riddle, is it a Jimmy Riddle or Jimmy Widow?
That's just something from my history.
Okay.
I don't think anybody else says that. That's just something from my childhood, from our household.
Okay, we are thinking about the things we've done in the physical since we woke up. And you said some of them are just out of habit and they're natural, okay?
Yeah, of course. I always come down and reach for the coffee. I'll have a cup of coffee, or maybe two or three, actually.
Yeah.
That gets the body woken up and ready for action.
Fantastic. Now, there are quite a number of people here who are saying who has influenced them. Okay. We have Nancy Mungai has joined in. She's tuned in. V. Gibu is saying she's joined in. And Joshi Rich is really laughing. I think we said something that was funny that is making her laugh a lot. Then Rose
Spread the
Richardson, from Skegness, you know this lady.
I
She's
do.
your mom.
She is.
So she says, my parents influenced me in my early life. In later years, I have learned lots from my sons and daughter-in-law. Do you know that son?
Wow, yes.
And do you know that daughter-in-law? So thank you so much, Rose Richardson. And then the most important thing I have learned is forgiveness. Fantastic. We thank you for that.
And that's
Very
a wonderful
wonderful
thing to learn, isn't
It's
it?
a wonderful thing to learn and to be influenced by. So sometimes, the things we do. So Susan Wambo, I don't know why you're laughing. You could be telling us what we have found funny. Is it the Jimmy Riddle one? Or is it the spending a p or a pence and all that? Anyway, when we wake up, we do so many things
Of course,
physically.
it's 20p now.
Is it
because
20p?
inflation. Yeah.
So 1p, 20p is 20 times more than.
Yeah, it's inflation.
Fantastic. Do you know how much that is in Kenyan shillings? 20 pence in Kenyan shillings. You're going to the loo just to waste 20 shillings. That's about how much you can go to spend just going to do a small number one. Yeah, a wee wee. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, so most of the time we do these physical things without being aware. So I know you haven't asked me what are some of the physical things I do, right? But when I wake up, just the magic of opening our eyes. Earlier on I had asked, what blessings can you thank God for? So one of the things I would thank God for, the blessing that I know that happens in the physical, just waking up and being aware that I am here. I have opened my eyes and I can see the dawn. I can see the light of day. Then I can go and do also a Jimmy Riddle, like you have said. I can go, not everybody can be able to do that Jimmy Riddling. And then the doings and the being of the day. Yeah. So just being able to do that, it's not a very easy thing for someone who is not very well, someone who is bedridden, some of the elderly people who can really find it difficult. So these are some of the things we sometimes don't remember to thank God for, just the physical things.
And
yes,
and I would say that we take things for granted sometimes.
Yeah.
And just talking about, we were laughing about Jimmy Riddling and just talking about that.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, my father, who sadly passed away recently, he was very ill with kidney problems, so he wasn't able to do that. So, we should be grateful, and even the mundane things of life, even the things we take for granted, are still a blessing.
So when the body is functioning properly, when you count your blessing, remember opening your eyes, using your 5 common senses, which are, do you know our 5
what's
common
that? You've got sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing.
Yes. So when you can use all your 5 common senses and you find your 6th sense is working as well, intuition is working, we should be thankful to God. If we are able to eat breakfast, if we are able to do the doings of the day, then we should be very thankful to God, because those are physical blessings that God gives us. Most of the time when you talk about physical blessing, people talk about material things outside of themselves. But I'm thinking about this very body. Yeah, some of the blessings that we are given. So here, Rose said she has learned forgiveness. And then somebody has liked this one very much, and it's Peter. He's responded and says, sure, I have also learned a lot of forgiveness, since I have learned that forgiveness will always bring blessing. And Susan Wambo is laughing. She must be laughing about, I think it's the Jimmy Riddling. And then Joy Iraqi is saying learning more. And then Princess Davine is saying our house help influence. That is, we used to call them maids, the housemaid. You used to have maids here historically. Yeah, but we still have house helps. And
but
then,
that's quite nice.
Which one? About the house help?
The house help, yeah.
Yes, she says that is Princess Davine Favor said, our house help influenced me by always teaching me to be respectful and taught me to be hardworking theoretically. My Sunday school teacher too, they taught her to be, they influenced her positively. And then Sarah Happy Hoopy saying she's enjoying the conversation, which is very nice. And then Princess Davine saying, my grandma taught me never to revenge and try always not to cause pain to anyone in this world. And then Peter Simon says, my parent always influenced me by encouraging me to work hard, and by doing so, God will bless the work of my hand. And it's very true. So we learn different things, whether it's in the spiritual or in the physical, from many different people, and we are influenced in different ways. And like we are saying again now, we need to remember to be thankful in the physical sense, in the things that we can do in the physical, because even though sometimes we forget, we just think so spiritually, like what last time, but there's that element of being thankful also for the physical things that our body. In the past, when I was talking about reading, I don't know whether you attended one of the sessions or you didn't, but I said one of the very basic needs. Maybe I could ask you, what do you think is the most basic need for our bodies?
Basic need is food and water, sustenance.
It is food and water, sustenance. And the same way our spiritual life needs food, in the Word of God. But I'm not going back there to the spiritual being. I'm talking about the needs in the physical. So our bodies also need to be fed. They need to be taken care of. And we have one of our KDM doctors who talks about healthy eating most of the time, so which is very good and it is wonderful. So what does the food do for ourselves? What would you like to say, Mr. Hutchings?
No, nothing. I'm just looking at the...
Yeah, that's fine. So what we would like to do is when we have food, when we eat our food, the food is able to give us energy. We need to be able to develop and maintain the body. And it also helps us to build our immunity, to overcome stress and all that. But sometimes we don't even remember to thank God for the food. Yeah, we may not, we just take it for granted. So sometimes we just think life just continues without really kind of thinking about those physical elements. So today, one of the things I would like you to remember is to be able to be thankful of this physical body, be thankful of the physical things we take through our mouth, the physical things that go through our skin, so that we are able to be living in this physical essence that we are in, so that we can be able to protect that spiritual person in us. But for today, I am going to talk about social relationship. Now, this man here already, I don't know how comfortable he is being with me in the studio. I don't know whether this is something he has done before or he's never done before. So, Mr. Hutchings Muzungu, tell us, is this something you have done before, or you've not done it before, and why have you done it today?
No, of course, it's something I've never done before, and I'm here to support you and to also experience new things, and to broaden my horizons. So yes, it's not something that I would say I'm very comfortable with. And a few years ago, it's something I would never have even contemplated. So it does just show you that over time you can broaden your horizons and reach out to try new things.
Excellent. And one of the things I challenged you earlier today, if you remember right? Okay, we haven't rehearsed much of this stuff we are talking about, but I asked him, how can I know that he's my friend? Or how can people know that you have a friend? How would you know that a friend of yours is a friend of yours? This is a question to you, the audience, as well as Mr. Hutchings Muzungu here. How can you know your friend is a friend? In the past, people have said about honesty, that's one of the qualities you would like to know from a friend. But how can you tell that a friend of yours is a friend? And one of my friends from high school here, she said, wow, I'm so proud of the Swiss Sister Blessings Mob. Yeah, but how can you tell that a friend is a friend? How? What's one of the things that can tell you that a friend is a friend? So this is a question to the audience as well as you.
Well, I think you've got a friend when they've got time for you, when they'll put themselves out for you, when they support you, when they love you, and when they're honest with you.
Excellent. Because one of the things I was trying to think of, we talk about the spirit person, we talk about this physical body, but even in as much as I'm a friend of myself, in as much as I'm a friend of God, I cannot be able to live in a physical space with God. I cannot be able to live in a physical space with my spirit. By the way, there's another question I posed to you. What is that person in your head, the spirit person, telling you right now? right? So that we know whether that spirit person in your head can be able to live in the physical space with you.
What's
What is
that?
that?
What's that spirit person telling me right now?
That sound
It's
in your
telling
head.
me that doing this experience tonight is not as daunting as I thought it might have been.
Yes, you started telling me earlier that, oh, I'm feeling like I'm nervous a little bit. It's daunting. And I said, remember this. Or somebody, Derito, had joined us, and maybe they'll be joining us in a moment. Yeah. So when I was encouraging you to come and join me, not really encouraging, you decided to come and give me support. And one of the qualities you have said about friends is that friends are there to support you. And then when you started telling me you're very nervous, yeah, I said, I'll be there, right? I'll be there. But on top of the list, who is your friend number one? Do you remember your friend number one?
Friend number one is God.
Yeah. So I said, God will be there and he will help you. So Gladys Minor says, you know your friend through their action. You know your friends through their action. And then Princess Devine Favor says, a friend never changes with season and situation, but always a friend remains a friend through and through. And who has joined us on the other side? Sarah Mwasi is saying, oh, yes. We need to thank God always. Even going to pee is not normal. It takes the hand of God. That's right. Somebody who has kidney problems, somebody who has any other problems with the renal system, even going to the toilet, that is a problem. If you have bladder issues, that is a big, big problem that we need God to be able to help us. And Shekoyemi Mary says, a friend is consistent and constant. Right? They don't change with seasons. Like one of our friends has told you, Princess Davine, friends are constant. Now, the other word I asked last time when we were talking about not rediscovering, being spiritual, is the word being, so that we can be able to move on to being human or being physical. How do we define the word being?
It's it's existence.
Existence.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
You're conscious of being there. You.
Yeah, and that's why I'm taking you back. Like, I have this spirit person, that voice in my head, the spirit person in me, and I have my physical body, but I can't actually, in as much as I know I exist, I need the third person to be able to live in this space in the physical. And that's why, yeah, God brought you at the right time in this studio. Yeah, in this studio, God brought you straight away in this studio so that you can be able now to be part of this presence. And then the other thing, I moved on after asking you, how can you know that someone is your friend, right? I was asking you, how can you describe an ideal relationship? So you know this person is constant, they're there for you, they're supportive. But what are some of the qualities that can tell you that this is an ideal relationship?
Of course, you need trust, compassion. You
Mm-hmm.
need to be considerate to your friend.
Yeah.
And love and honesty.
Yeah. And for me, I think also an ideal, like you said, trust. I think we need to be humbled or some humility. So we are not the only one. Okay, sometimes I think I over talk over you. Do you think I'm humble enough, a wife?
I think so, definitely.
So what are some of the things that make you think I'm a humble enough wife? What are some of the things I do that you think I practice on humility level? If I don't do them, you need to tell me so that I can be able to practice this humility.
No, as a wife, you're very supportive.
Yeah.
You always boost my confidence. Some husbands complain that they have a nagging wife, and that's something you're definitely not. You've always got a smile for me, even when I'm not happy with something I've done.
Yeah,
I know that you're usually happy. You don't complain. You're just
thank you,
a lovely
thank
wife.
you, thank you. So I don't want to blow my own trumpet, and I don't want to beat my own African drum. But what I'm saying, for any friendship to prosper or for any friendship to grow, for us to prosper in the physical spaces with the third person, because this life is lived with the third person. We don't live in heaven with God. We don't live in our spirit ourselves without the other person. So these are the person that we have to trust. we have to behave humbly with one another. We remain transparent. Yeah. So I don't have other things I'm doing underground. I remain loyal. And then we have some common interests, but we also have a lot of differences. By the way, can you name one common interest we have with you and maybe one difference? And then you can ask the same question to me. One common thing we have as an interest, and then one difference we have, and then how do we meet in the common ground?
Well, of course, our common interest, but I wouldn't call it an interest.
Yeah.
But we're both Christians, and we do come together in our faith.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very strong glue.
Yeah.
To even our marriage.
And difference.
Different. Well, we have a big difference on the type of foods that we like to enjoy, but.
Okay, you brought the question of food. So one of the things this Mzungu doesn't eat is ugali. So would you tell the audience why you don't like ugali? And I can ask them as well, what is one food that they don't like, and what is one food they like, and what is one food their friends don't like? Yeah.
Now you're really putting me on the spot now, aren't you? Talking about ugali, because I don't want to be offending.
No, they won't be offended
listeners.
Because they're, like I said, there are different levels of friends. You haven't offended me for not liking ugali. Okay, I've tried to convince you to eat ugali. I've even tried to camouflage it like cake, and I've camouflaged it like mokimo. When it has been done in mokimo form, you've eaten it without knowing. I don't know whether that is cheating on you. I don't know. But tell us just one thing why you don't like, for example, ugali.
I don't like the taste or the texture.
Okay.
It's like this blob of something that just sits on and it doesn't look appealing, doesn't taste
so I'm
appealing.
going to ask the audience whether it will be the best thing to take you one day to Ethiopia, North Africa near Sahara Desert, and the only meal we'll be having that particular time is ugali. So ugali and skuma wiki, dried skuma wiki.
That is only one dish though. Okay. I like mokimo, I like gidere, I love ndazis. So there's many foods that you've introduced me to that I do like, and they outweigh the one thing I don't like.
Fantastic. So the question was, okay, where we began this discussion, the differences we have and the common ground. So you said faith-wise, we have a common ground, but when it comes maybe to food, then we have our differences sometimes, but not differences that we fight about. Yes, and there's someone there who has joined us. What is Sarah Mwasya saying? She said, true. The true friends never change, even if the situation changes. I agree with that. And then, hello, Esther, our guest. Okay, they're saying karibu, karibu. So John Karori is saying karibu mzungu. Yeah, and tumechelewa wapi, and they're tuned in, karibu sana. So those are the friends on the other side on YouTube. So I was asking about the commonalities that friends have, and also the differences they have. Should they fall out because they have a few differences on the foods they don't eat? Should they fall out because they don't like ugali? Should they fall out? And the same thing with marriage, right? We don't have to like everything, but then we have kind of a common place where we meet and then sometimes agree to disagree. So one other aspect in our kind of relationships, in friendship relations, I believe communication is key. So what's the difference between you and me when it comes to communication?
You are a talker. I'm a listener, for sure.
Okay. Do you think I overtalk? And when I overtalk, what would you do to just shush me and say, now I think, Esther, you're going overboard?
No, I don't think you overtalk. Yeah. I think it works good for us.
Okay.
Because if you had two people that didn't talk, it'd be a very quiet household. And if you had two talkers, nobody would be listening because everybody's talking. So, we are balanced.
I don't know if you've ever heard about personality traits, temperaments. We have one of our doctors called Tabitha Gekanga, and this week she's been talking about different temperaments. Being a sanguine. Yeah, I think I'm a sanguine. I'm there. I'm out there, chatty, loud, and all that. And then there's choleric. There is phlegmatic, and there's melancholy. So you could be one of the other quieter ones. So thank you. But it's one of the things I'm learning, because I've been given 2 years and one mouth. So even today, the word for today was telling me, or telling us, that sometimes a foolish person, when they keep quiet, they may seem like they're wise. So I'm just praying that I will know when to keep quiet and when to talk, because sometimes I think I have a comment on everything. So I need to learn to listen twice as much as I talk. Is that, yeah. And if I overdo these things, then please help me. So here are some comments because of Ugali. I don't know whether you've made enemies or you've made friends. Okay. So here we go. So Mary had said a friend is consistent and constant. Princess Davine Favor had says, you put yourself in your friend someone else's shoes. That's the word you had used earlier. Yeah, you had used that word earlier about empathy, isn't it? And then she says, you put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
Do what you wish it was done to you. And then Joshi Rich says, oh, don't you eat ugali? Ugali is an absolute favorite for her. That is our director producer on the other side. So I think if she didn't know you didn't eat, oh no, I'm just kidding now. Joan Karuri is saying many women are talkers. That's what she's saying. Maybe yes, maybe not. I'm not so sure, but I think we are the talkative ones. And then she says, Joshirish, she say, we are not offended. We don't like pickle.
Pickle.
So I don't know whether it's pickled onions or pickled beetroot. What other pickles do you have?
Well, you can pickle anything.
Oh, you can pickle it. Okay, I like gherkin when it's pickled. Yeah, I do like gherkin when it's pickled. And then Joshi Rich says, the secret of ugali, it's what goes with it. It's like mashed potatoes. You have to eat it with something. I've tried to convince you that, haven't I? And I've even mashed up ugali with mashed potatoes. So Joshi Rich, I will keep on trying to convince him that he can eat ugali. But the biggest secret is to take him to Ethiopia one of these days with only soup and ugali.
You did make a garlic crisps once, which were quite good.
Fantastic. And you know, if you like Doritos are ugali anyway. Crisps ugali. Did you know that? Then Gladys Minor say ugali and sukuma wiki is one of my favorite. That's what she is saying. Yeah.
I'm liking this. I'm just...
Yeah, so Nancy Blessed Wanjiko said, I must say that you really complement each other. The Mzungu is so calm and chilled, and you are like talkative one, but he's handling eating so well. He's handling it so well. So
Asante sana, Nancy.
Say it aloud again.
Asante sana, Nancy.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, he's doing something that is not in his comfort zone, but he chose to do it. One thing I can assure you, I didn't force him to do it. He chose to do it. So I hope the sweats have stopped now. You're no longer nervous, are you?
No.
Okay. So the questions are getting deeper now. All right. So it was to do with our character differences. And then I think I should take it to the feelings now. Yeah. Do you think you've been influenced by this environment where you've brought up? Or do you think my character difference and your character difference is as a result of our physical environments where we've been brought up? Or is it because that's our natural makeup in the way we've been born within our genes? What do you think?
I think that's the old discussion, isn't it? Nature versus nurture. I personally believe that the environment with which we grow up in, this is my opinion, is of greater influence on your life.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, we were just talking a minute ago about you're the talker and I'm the quiet one. Now, I know you coming from an African background. From my experience of travelling to Africa, the houses are always full of noise, always very sociable, always interacting with people. Now, here in the UK, where I grew up, it's much more isolated. Okay. So we're not as interactive with one another. Yeah. As I believe Africans are. And so I think, just using that one example is why me and you are so different.
Yeah, and somebody said here, Princess Davine says that a road is never straight. Always, sometimes you negotiate the corner. So I think she's meaning when you have friendships, there are times you negotiate. So life is not just a straight line. And then she come hear me, Mary Okoro, say, you are doing an amazing job, Neil. And with some three loves there. So keep smiling. You're doing very, very well.
Thank you.
So when I look at you, or when I look at you now, I'm seeing I am chocolatey, you're vanilla, the color wise. Does that affect you in your physical spaces? Let's say if you're going for a walk in town, do you feel like either people are staring at you or people are not staring at you? What do you feel when I am around you, for example? You know, we're talking about being physical and the things that we feel because of the physical differences. So tell me a little bit about that.
That's a very interesting question.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, I'm married to you,
Mhm.
and to me, you're just Esther.
Okay.
I never see the difference in our skin,
Mhm.
although I know that it can be a factor.
Yeah.
And I know that because when I visited Kenya,
Mhm.
you know, there's no hiding the fact that I'm very pale,
Mhm.
and of course the children would be running after you. You know, it's like being a celebrity.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, obviously I can walk down the streets of the UK,
Mhm.
and I'm not aware of what you were saying, people looking. But if I was walking through the streets of Nairobi or Eldoret or Kisii, of course you get attention, and you're aware of that attention, because I think when anybody stands out in the physical, when anybody stands out,
Mhm.
and you just mentioned skin color,
Mhm.
but I think anybody who might have a physical disability,
Mhm.
if anybody stands out from what is the status quo for that, of course they will stand out, and of course they will be noticed.
Yeah, why I'm talking about these things, you know, from going to the toilet, the physical things that we can do, and the way we appear, it's because sometimes, you know, we are not conscious of the differences we have, and when we are conscious about them, they can affect us really badly. So sometimes when one time I went to Germany as a black woman, I sat in the train station, I was very self-conscious because everybody in the train was staring and people didn't want to come and sit next to me. And I thought, that's really weird, because in the UK it's not as bad as that, but we are conscious that there's the differences. And it's not only in the UK, in our own communities in Kenya, people can identify this one as a Kikuyu, this one as a Kisii, this one as a Luo. Sometimes we tend to think those physical things don't matter, but they do matter sometimes, and they can affect people in a very awkward manner. So when we were talking about influencing, one of the things I said to myself when I was growing up, I don't want to be tribalistic. I want to be Kenyan. I don't want to be tribalistic. So the other side, John Carol is saying, thank you so much for coming, Muzungu. Loving this.
Well,
Esther, we appreciate you, Sana. Your show is always fiery. That's what she's saying. And then somebody here is saying, Nancy is saying, amazing. He could accompany you often. Yeah, you also got some synergy. Yeah, so I think you'll be my co-host. Yeah, when you're not working most of the time, you're involving him and influencing him soon. He will be the most talkative now. He's relaxed than he was in the beginning. Even me at the beginning, I was panicky a bit because I didn't know what you're gonna do. You are going to reach out your water. You're going to reach out this one. I didn't know what you're gonna do. And then Rachel Ray saying beautiful couple, and Rose Richardson and Mary are still watching, which is very good. So when we talk about these physical differences, like you said, you stood out when we went to Kenya. And you know what? We are stereotypical. Yeah, everybody is stereotypical. People may say, I am not stereotypical. So one other question I'm going to ask the audience, what stereotypical ideas do you have about Wazungus? Now, I have a very natural Muzungu here, down to earth, right? Before I knew so much about Wazungus, I used to think every Muzungu is rich. That's what, okay, he's rich in his own capacity, he is. But I used to think, because we used to see the expatriates, we used to see people with money, we used to see people driving Land Rovers, those green, big cars. Those are the people we used to see. But then I didn't know that there are people who are just down to earth, normal, everyday person. So I would like to ask, most of my friends here What type of stereotype idea do you have about white people or black people? What type of stereotype idea, just because of their physical differences or any physical thing you know about them, you make a great team? That is what Josie Rich is saying, our producer on the other side. And then on the other side, Anne Sibri is saying, good job, Esther. Anne Sibri is from my village. We went to the same school. And then Tracy Mumbi has joined us. Love you guys. Great to see you co-hosting. That's fantastic. So one of the questions I have before we move on, because you're talking about the physical being, what is one of the stereotype ideas? Don't feel wrong in talking about them, because this is the opportunity you have to kind of bring some of the things into light so that we can talk about them. What are some of the stereotype ideas you have heard with your ears, or you have had in your mind, thinking about either black or white people, so that we can be able to clear some of these tonight? Okay. So I'm going to take him to another level as you think of those stereotypical ideas. So one of the things that we are saying, our common ground is God. And if it wasn't for godly love that grew us to where we are, like, or which level we are at the moment, then it would have been very difficult, because there's one question I want to pose to him. It's a personal question, because at the beginning I had said I'll ask general questions and then I'll ask very personal question. So when did you first know that you were in love with Esther? And how did that feel like? You know, those feelings feel in the physical being.
Okay.
How did it feel like? Yes. And meanwhile, as you're thinking about that, let me just read one quote from Nancy Blessed Wanjiko. She says this: I used to think all Muzungus speak English. And I was shocked that some can't even, okay, I want to cough. Some can't even make a sentence. They speak their own language, like Germany. So you see, we used to think every European is a Muzungu. Yeah.
I used to think every Westerner is
Every
American.
Westerner is an American. No, we used to think of British, because
Okay.
we were colonized by the British. So we used to think every Mzungu is British. So meanwhile, can you help me to answer that question of when did you know that you were in love, and how did that feel like? And I'm just going to sip a little bit of your water here.
Yeah, so okay. So you put me on the spot there, don't you? I think I would actually say that the day that I asked you to marry me, that was the day when I realised.
Do you know how long?
That's the day I realised I was in love with you, because
Okay.
that's the day when
Yeah.
I decided that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with you.
That's 3 years ago only, Hooch, and I've known you for more than how many years have I
I
known
knew
you?
you was going to say that.
Okay, just
Yeah.
go on. Okay, let me not stop you. Yeah, so tell me the story. Let me not stop
Okay,
you.
you said love.
Yes,
Yeah?
we're
So,
in love, yeah.
Of course,
Mhm,
those preceding years,
mhm.
that's, you start out with infatuation and lust, and
Okay.
then it develops into friendship, and it's only much later. Oh, it took a long time, of course, but there was many things going on in our lives. But you reach that point, and it's like, I can't live without this woman by my side.
Mhm.
And that, you see, I think love, many people, I think they get it confused between love
Mhm.
and lust,
Mhm.
and I think it's two separate things.
Okay.
Love is those people, that you want in your life forever.
Mhm.
Most people love their children. Most people love their parents. Those are the people that you want in your life forever. So a wife or a husband is somebody, you want to be with them forever.
Okay.
Right? And so if you asked me,
Mhm.
yes, of course I loved you for the years before we got married.
Mhm.
But if that's the pivotal point at which you say, yes, I'm making this commitment to this woman.
Mhm. Okay, so it was a great effort at the beginning. Yeah, a very great effort at the beginning, right? And I don't know why this thing is playing a little bit, so I'm going to bring it back. So a few of the things I had asked about, some stereotypical ideas, all right? So Mumbi had said on the other side that Wazungus are more romantic than black men. That is Miss Anne. Anne is saying, her ideas about Wazungus are more romantic than black men. I
Is that true?
don't know. So I don't I don't want to compare anyway, not at this moment. I wouldn't be able to comment. And then Tracy Mumbi says Wazungu don't like seasoning their food. I have someone
I
who
love
eats very
seasoning.
chili food here and curry, Chinese curry. And then Priscilla Mudoni says, hey, Esther and her husband, how are you? And then Tracy Mumbi, so true. Love and lust are different. And then on this other side, let's see what comments are coming in. And Nancy Blessed Wanjiko said, I used to think Mzungus, okay, we had spoken about speaking English, but we have come to know Europe is Europe and they speak very different languages. Even Polish people speak their Polish language. Joshi Rich says, we think all Mzungus are racist, but that's not the case. Yeah. So I don't have a racist Mzungu here. So there we go. Right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be living under the same roof with him. And then, but I have other racist Mzungus down the street. Yeah, I've had a Mzungu just 3 doors away shouting at me. So I don't know whether he's racist or he was just angry that I had parked at his space. I have forgiven him and I do smile at him because it's only 3 doors away from where I am. And then Princess Davin says, Mzungu thinks in Africa we are poor, even can't afford food to eat. Is that one of the ideas you had about Africans? That we can't afford food?
I grew up watching a lot of wildlife programs on TV. I remember when I was growing up, there was always famines on the television. So to some extent, that statement is true. That when you get broadcasted that they're trying to raise aid for the old Band Aid thing when I was growing up and Live Aid and you just think, Africa's a big country. It's
continent.
Continent. So, there's that stereotype. But also, growing up, you have this stereotype that everybody lives like Masai Mara in mud huts and there's, fields.
Lions roaming the
exactly.
streets of Nairobi.
Because you grow up watching things on telly
and
they show you these plains of grasslands with lots of herds of wildlife everywhere. So you can imagine my surprise when I go to Kenya and I'm in a city that's just like a European city with streets and houses and street light, so until you've experienced the other side of the coin, you'll only have what you've been fed with.
So Princess Davin continued to say that one Mzungu abroad asked her whether there's food in Africa, whether we have food in Africa. We have plenty. I'm telling you, we have plenty of food. You saw it. You even took photos in a maize field, didn't you? And we were crossing over maize fields as we were going to Kitale, those sides and all that. Then Tracy, on the other side, I love that the true love is marked by decision to commit. Now, the question I had was, when did you know that you were in love with Esther and how did that feel like? You didn't answer the part of feeling like, okay, you did differentiate between lust and infatuation and the other sides. But when now you decided that you are committing and you wanted to live without me, so inside you, how did it feel like? And then I'll be able to take my own take on the basis of the same story. And I'm going to ask the audience as well, those who have fallen in love, whether they were sweet 16, 14, or they are in their older age. How does it feel like when someone is in love? How does it feel like when you're in love? So that we know whether it's a physical feeling. In the past, we have said love is not an emotion, it's a choice. But I want to see whether people say there is a time when they're in love and there is a feeling that is associated with that. So how did it feel like once you had made up your mind?
Well, it felt very good when you said yes.
So it felt like, okay, I won't ask some more because you'll tell me later maybe. So to me, it was a very great effort at the beginning, but because of love, right? And it's a choice I made. To me, it's not like I fell in love, At some point, as we started seeing each other, those days you would come and see me and then you would drive me to work here and there. Do you remember those days? Why did you do that? I don't know why you did that. So that particular time, I thought this guy is very committed. Then I am gonna love him. I'll choose to love him. Not because I was feeling some butterflies in my stomach, or I was feeling my heart skipping a bit, or I was feeling like I can't sleep, yeah, if I haven't texted you. I just decided to choose to love you because, okay.
No. I can remember very clearly getting a text from you where you said, "You mean you can keep me up all night? I can't
Really?
sleep because I'm missing you."
Okay, missing
caught you on
is
that
something.
one.
No. Missing is something else. But I'm saying, my heart didn't. I don't think it skipped a bit. When we were younger, we would write those sweet letters to our newly found boyfriends, and we would be like, "Oh, my heart goes paragasha." Yeah. Do you know what paragasha is? It's like it just goes bop, 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 inside there. There's something that is happening, or I can't sleep because I don't know. Maybe these things happen, but they did quite happen to me. I chose, to love. Yeah. And then that particular length of 14 years that we trudged on love, I had gone past now the infatuation, the lasting, the envying, the everything. But I had a bag of mixture of affections when I was growing younger, when I saw men, or I saw. So sometimes I think, oh, that man can make a good husband. No, that man can make a good bedmate. Oh, that man, I think, can make a good husband like so and so's husband. You see the comparing. Sometimes I would just be envious of my married friends, and I'm thinking, if I get one man right now, maybe I could get married. And you see, we have made mistakes along the way during those type of feelings, affections, infatuations, lust, envy, like you had said before. But for you and me, it took a long time, and it was a decision that I made. Why we are talking about this thing and our own experiences, we don't know. It could be helping someone else out there who could be either taking a long time, they're not married, or some people are going through these short phases of falling in love, and then things could go wrong, right?
One thing I think I'd like to say,
Yeah.
and that is that if you try to pursue love, I think you'll fall short.
Okay.
Love will come when you least expect it.
Yeah.
So anybody that's really pursuing it, really searching for it, they're trying too hard.
Yeah.
And this is where you put your trust in God, that they'll bring the right person into your life at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So let it happen naturally. Don't worry if you've not found that special person.
So you mean we don't do spicing a little bit? This is spices of life. So there's nothing we can do
you can have spices of life,
okay,
outside of marriage.
Okay.
But
I mean, like building up things to make it work.
But we got married later in life.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot to be said for that.
Okay.
So, how many people just want to rush into a marriage?
Yeah.
Because, they want to be married, or they've not really thought about it. So, just let it happen naturally, and the person that you to spend the rest of your life with, the one that you love and who will love you, will come along at the right time.
Okay. And on my part, there's one decision I had made. I didn't want to marry someone who didn't believe in God. And during those years that we knew each other, you hadn't believed in God, right? You were believing in God, but you had not really been serious or committed to believing in God and following his way. So it was really difficult. It could have been two unlike people yoked together. So it would have been difficult. Yeah. But the days that you received the faith and the day you believed in God, miracles started happening. And that's how the covenant of marriage happened. And I think it's
I'm thinking about those boats. Now we're sailing in the same boat, going the same way.
What about the boats?
Years ago, we were sailing in two different boats.
Yeah,
and
I think sometimes they would go that way. We are trying to bring them. If they bring this way, they would clash. So they needed to be not even two boats going in one direction. Okay, for a long time, we were two boats going like that. Now we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
Yes, so we're in the same boat, and that's our common ground where we are. So I have another question for you while I read this particular comment that somebody is also asking here. And we have our CEO, Jeremy Damaris, joining in, and he's saying, very good show, Esther. That is Jeremy Damaris. And then Josh Shiris is also saying, Karibu Sana, CEO. And then Nancy is saying, love, but I must say, love, what love with the right person, heavenly. You literally live in your own world because both of you have decided to love each other and make it work, because it's a beautiful feeling. So once you've chosen the right person to love, then these things can work. And then Princess Davin said, when you're in love, you feel like cold ice cream. That's the feeling I was looking for. Cold ice cream is quenching your thirst through the throat during summer. That's the kind of thing I was feeling. And then on the other side, somebody else has commented and say, Wazungus do not do not circumcise, black men do. That's what somebody, okay. I was thinking about the stereotype ideas, yeah. And then I was thinking most Wazungus ask me if we see lions and elephants roaming the streets of Nairobi. And then Karen Kirota said, great video. And then Anne Ketu says, seeing you guys for the first time, like nimewapenda sana. So penda, what is penda? Love. There we go. So somebody's loving us from the other side. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I was looking for that ice cream melting in your mouth, feeling. Okay. For me, it didn't develop then, but with time, as I've come to love you, this ice cream melts in my mouth most of the days because you are a very kind and loving person, I must say. Let the world know about that. Now, I have another question for you. Okay. When Joshi Reese is saying, when you are in love, you feel happy for no reason. You find yourself smiling. I think we keep smiling in this house. Thank you, God, for that love that you've given us. Now, I have another question. What do you think hinders love relationship among human beings? What do you think is one of, okay, think of it in terms of a marriage relationship, maybe, because we would like to know, even when people have friendships, these friendships should be like in a marriage relationship in a way. It's a kind of a covenant you have with a friend. Even God had a covenant with Abraham, yeah, and God had an agreement with Moses as well. So what do you think hinders love relationships among humans, particularly married couples? What hinders?
You're asking me?
Yes. Yeah, and I'm asking the audience as well. Yes.
I think mistrust.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you're asking me, the biggest one,
yeah,
it's infidelity.
Infidelity?
That's what I believe.
Infidelity.
That's the thing.
I didn't think Wazungus are practice infidelity. Do they?
Of course.
Yeah. Do they?
Of course.
Yeah.
We're the same people the world over. And
so when you say infidelity, what does that mean?
Infidelity in a marriage is when you go seeking after other women or men. Oh. When the wife or the husband is not enough for you and you go seeking attention outside the marriage. I think that is the biggest thing that will destroy marriage, because that leads to mistrust. It leads to a breakdown in communication. And of course, then the love just dies, doesn't it?
So I'm going to ask the audience the same question. What do you think hinders love relationships among humans? Yeah, you've said infidelity. I didn't think that was on top of the list, because to me, with my stereotype, yes, now I understand. But can I be tough on you a little? Have you cheated on me anytime?
Of course not.
Yeah. Okay, of course not. Okay. But why did this idea of infidelity come in? Because I think when I had discussed before with you, you had said something else. Yeah, you had said something else.
Because I see so many marriage breakdowns caused by it.
Okay.
And
yeah. Okay.
And of course, you talk about stereotypes. And of course, I know, well, this is a stereotype. This is what I think.
Okay.
I tend to think stereotypically that African men in particular like to have more than one woman.
Hey, African men, do we have any African men and African women here? Tell us, is it true that infidelity is one of the things that breaks marriages? And on the other side, do we go into marriages with high expectations? Do we pursue perfectionism in our marriage, because I don't believe there is a perfect marriage. I think we need to work on marriages or even relationships, just general relationships. I don't think they are perfect friendships. Every friend must work on that friendship. And I think, now this is not stereotypical, I think it's the truth. Mistrust, misunderstanding, cultural differences, lack of humility, lack of communication, not choosing to love are all some of the things that can cause problems in relationships. True or false?
Yeah, true.
Some of it's just not a very comprehensive.
I think also as well, I think
Yeah.
I think that people can have too high expectations of each other.
Okay, and Priscilla Mudhoni on the other side says lack of transparency. She's also adding selfishness, and then somebody else there, Anne Ketu is adding, Esther, you're so sweet. Yeah, that's what she's. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm thinking if people can help us, Joshiris is saying lack of trust is a big one. Lack of trust can be, once it's broken trust, then it's so difficult to mend that. Yeah, once it's broken, and I believe so.
Yeah, I believe.
So one of the things I've done for you, and I think you've done for me, you have trusted me, right? You have trusted and given me space. So like I was saying, mistrust, and sometimes it's just misunderstandings, maybe we don't quite understand each other. Then those misunderstandings then cause fallout. Maybe sometimes it's cultural difference. I could choose when you're not eating ugali to really sulk. Shall I try that one of these days? I just make a big ugali and say, if you're not eating this ugali, I'm not smiling today. Do you think it is going to make a difference?
Your personality, you're not a sulker. So.
Okay, so I was thinking I could try one day. I just go, if you're not eating ugali today, then I'm not going to smile anyway. But I think not choosing love as a commandment, the way we've been given by God, is one of the things that normally closes in our friendships, in our physical spaces. If we can't live with love, because love covers a multitude of sins, then it's normally very difficult to really be able to move on. Now, I'm going now very personal. Yes? Can I?
I thought.
Oh, you're becoming tired now.
I thought you already were.
Are you becoming a bit tired?
No.
Shall we tell the audience goodbye, good night?
No, I'm not
Let's
tired.
ask them, would you like some more from Mr. Neil Hutchings and Esther from Leicester, or shall we call it
I'm
a
not
day?
tired.
Yes. Meanwhile, you can tell our audience that they can listen to us on, what is this called? YouTube?
Yeah, you can tune in on YouTube, on Facebook,
on
the KDM app.
Yes, you can download our app if you have not downloaded our app. And Tracy is saying something. Yes, I would say lack of trust and misunderstanding. And then boredom. Boredom is that she say no longer investing into the other person or making an effort. Yes, if we don't make an effort in growing the relationship, it's just like a garden. Yeah. So if you don't make a relationship in watering the garden, in planting new seeds, in weeding, removing all the weeds, sometimes those relationships can be very difficult. And then Gladys Minor is saying that, yes, let's go on, please. Okay, you're not going anywhere. So have a drink, Mr. Hutchings. Yeah, have a sip, and even no music for you. Can I have a little sip of that drink? You're not going anywhere tonight. You're staying here. Kesha. Do you know what a kesha is?
It's a tree, isn't it? With spikes. Acacia, isn't it? A tree
it's
with
not
spikes.
acacia. Kesha.
Oh.
Keshe. Kesha. So overnight fellowship. You're learning some Swahili. So Gladys Minor says stay on. And then Nancy Blessed Wanjiko said, I think lack of communication, because this opens the loopholes to all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Do you think we are good communicators, you and I? Yeah, you said I am very loud and talkative. Is that what you said? And you listen a lot? Okay, but I'll be trying to balance. And then Nancy Blessed Wanjiko said, we need him more. He is spicing. Okay, come on. Yeah, you're spicing the show a little bit more.
Thank you, Asante.
Asante. And then Rose Richardson say, if you truly love one another, you will also have respect for each other. And this is an essential thing in a relationship. Do you think I respect you, sir?
Absolutely, yeah.
How do I respect you? Yeah, give people some examples.
By your actions.
What type of actions? Be specific a little bit.
You respect my decisions when I come and say, oh, we should do this or shall we do that. You're always usually supportive of.
Usually, I think always. Okay.
Well, unless.
Okay, go on.
You don't
go on,
want
go
to
on.
half offence.
Yeah. Okay, go on. Yeah, go on. I'm just spicing
but yes,
up.
you are, Jet. You are very supportive of me, and you're very respectful of.
So back to the beginning where we had say about being supportive, and then basically mistrust. That's John Mwangi. He's saying basically mistrust and disrespect and lack of proper communication are some of the things that may wreck a marriage. And remember, we are talking about marriage and friendships as well.
Mistrust is got to be the big one.
Yeah.
Because if you don't trust the person you're spending your life with, then nothing else matters, does it?
Now, somebody says there on the other side, Miss Anne, she said, the most painful part is when Wazungus cheat on you. They will come and tell you about it, crying and regretting and asking for forgiveness or break up with you. They fall in love so quickly. Is that true?
No, 14 years.
Okay, tell Miss Anne. Tell Miss Anne here. Miss Anne, Muzungu here is differing a little bit about falling in love. I think it depends on
maybe I'm not a typical Muzungu.
You're not a typical Muzungu.
Maybe not.
Maybe, okay, I don't know. I don't want to give you the African...
You did say once, are all Muzungus like you?
Yeah, I did ask because I wondered whether the Wazungus are like you, so I did wonder. So there's some Wazungus who fall in love very quickly, and I think there's some Africans as well who fall in love quickly. There's some Africans or other people, just people in general, who can fall in love they can be infatuated rather than fall in love. You know, the infidelity you were talking about. I think people can be infatuated. If the Mzungu really loves Esther, he should never miss the show. Did you hear that? Oh, I don't know whether he'll promise that because he goes to work on Saturday. So I'm privileged today because he's on leave. So I'm privileged for him to offer to be here. It's something he's not comfortable with, but because of love, he's here and he's given me the support that I need. So I'm very grateful, and I'm grateful for each one of you who is joining in to give us the support so that he can also feel like, yes, he's welcome. Karibu sana. Asante. Karibu sana. Yes, asante. There we go. So I'm moving on. No, maybe not very personal, but I'm expanding it now to the first friend, right? So we've been talking about ourselves. We're talking about the third friend. Now I'm moving on to the first friend. Last week we had a starter. You missed some of the show because you are very busy at work. And one of the questions we had asked is, who are you? Yeah, how can you define yourself and what are you made of? Of course, there was the spiritual aspect of it, but thinking of it in the physical sense as well. Who are you and what are you made of? I'm asking this to the audience. Maybe some of them missed last week, because the best way to think about how to build relationships, whether in the physical sense where we are now, whether with the spiritual person that we have within, whether it's with the third person and with you and you and you. Let's start by asking, who are you? And then whose are you as well? So who are you, Mr. Mzungu? How can you define yourself? Who are you? No?
I don't know about that one.
You don't know about that one. So let's help Mzungu to answer who he is. What is he made of? How do you define yourself? Last week, Mary defined herself with very affirmative words.
Okay.
Very affirmative words. And people came up with this particular sentence here because most people came up with that. So I want to bring a different perspective in the way we define ourselves, our self-concept. Because once we know who we are and whose we are, then we are able to relate with other people on that basis. So we can be able to build a foundation. You know, earlier on you were telling me about foundations. Yeah, if friendships are not built on certain things, the foundation. So we need to be able to build this foundation so that we can be able to build stronger relationships. And the best way is to start with the self-concept, wherever I've always started with. The real that we are, the real person that we are, the ideal person that we are becoming, but who are we at the moment? So let me see if somebody can be able to help me based on last week's discussions for those who were there, before I give you a snippet of what some answers were from last week. And on that basis now, we can start that building relationship with friend number 1, friend number 2, friend number 3, and be aware of the friend number 4. So who are we and whose are we? And after that, we can be able now to go back to the very things we've been saying about trust, about love, about respect, about where do these things come from? Do we just make them up? Where do you think they come from? Love, respect, honesty. Yeah, where do you think all these things come from? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, of course, they come from God.
There we go. So, guess what people said last week? Yeah, somebody here has said, I'm a child of God, wonderfully made and preciously taken care of by my maker God. So, Princess Davine says she's a child of God. Last week, most people said, I am made in the image of God. And most people didn't quite explain, what does that image of God really mean? Is it in the spiritual aspect? Is it in the physical aspect? Earlier on, when I gave you just an overview, I did ask you, when we look at our physical being as a person, which person should we look into to be able to compare our physical being and our physical existence to?
Of course, that should be Jesus.
That's Jesus. So when we want to really understand how relationship in the physical essence works out, then we need to look at the person of Jesus. Yeah. And it may help us now to see what are some of the qualities that Jesus had. What are some of those qualities we can be able to reflect in the physical sense that he had? Would you be able to name a couple of them?
Of course, he loved all. He was compassionate. He was non-judgmental.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And then there's one other word you had used earlier, compassion. So Jesus was full of compassion. In as much as we love, we need to be able to be compassionate with other people. He was honest. He was embracing all sorts of people within the community. He wasn't judgmental, like you're saying. He didn't pick and choose. He welcomed everybody. And the Bible says, for he so loved the world that, yeah, he died for us. That's whosoever believes him will be.
I think Jesus
Yeah.
embodies all the best bits of being human, of being a person.
That's right. And then
I would say that many times in my life, if I'm faced with a difficult situation, I'll often ask myself, what would Jesus do in this position? And if you ask that question, you can't go far wrong with the answer.
So we can define ourselves as Princess Davine Favor has kind of defined. So we are a child of God. We were created in the image of God, just like somebody mentioned last week. A number of people mentioned that. But the person that we can relate to in human form is Jesus Christ. But then I'm going to also take you to the beginning, right? Because we belong to God. So who are we? We are children of God. Who is the Father? Father God. But where did all this story begin? Just like I had said before, the four friends. Yeah, there was God, there was Adam, there was Eve, and then there's this fourth enemy that came in. But in future, and these are the key points maybe I want people to take home with. If there is one Bible verse you can take with you so that at the end of the day you can say they were talking about some aspects of the Bible, even if they were not preaching every verse. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 to 28. Yeah. Would you be able to read for me point number 1? What does it say?
As the human being that was created by God in Eden, the physical body that has a spirit.
Yes, God took some dust, as we learned last week, and then he breathed into that body, and that body became a living soul as well as a living being. Yeah, it became a living soul as well as a living being, which is very good. And then number 2, our existence is both
male and female.
Male and female. I know there's quite a lot.
them.
Yes, there's quite a lot of discussions now at the moment that we can choose whether to be male or female. If there isn't any form of biological problems that happen at birth about being male or female because of imbalances of the hormones, then God created us both male and female. So there's a man, there's a woman, and we were separate and they were put together as a couple. And then number 3,
a blessed being in the physical.
Yeah, in the very first it says you are blessed. So sometimes we feel like we are not blessed. Remember, I did ask you as a starter question if you could name at least one blessing that you have. And many people did mention the blessings they have. We are blessed. We are blessed. Is that another new comment? Yeah, Maina Chege say, this is stupid how Africans think Wazungus are different from us. We are all the same and we have so much in common, and they do most of the things the same way. Whites are not close to God than we are. That's correct. We are all human beings. Yes, but it's the notions and the, what do you call them? The stereotype and the things we have learned, we have been conditioned to learn, and the things we think for ourselves. We tend to think maybe Mzungus, you're near heaven. But by the way, surprisingly, I've come to learn that, yeah, most of the Wazungus have left the very path they led us to. So we were led to Jesus, we were led to God. But then this time round, it's like we are doing the reverse. It's like we are bringing back the gospel to the very root where it began. Anyway, so we are blessed. Yeah. And earlier on, I had asked about blessings. Yeah. And you said about your aches and pains, they've gone. And what was the other blessing you said? That
Being
you're
on
here.
this show.
Fantastic. Well done. And then there is this element here. Yeah. A being that is
Fruitful.
yeah, and
has the capacity to multiply and fill the earth.
So when you have time, go and read that Genesis 1:26 to 28, and you will find these things being mentioned there, that human beings, in the physical sense and also in the spiritual sense, we have a capacity to be fruitful and to multiply and fill the earth. Now, this fruitful word, you remember, the very first time I started these Spices of Life, I was asking, if you were a tree, if you were a plant, what would you be? By the way, shall I challenge you to tell me, if you were a tree, if you were a plant, what would you be? Did you choose that particular time, one of the aspects? I know I've been given an oak tree.
Yeah, that's what
I've chosen to be a skuma. I have chosen, skuma wiki. I've chosen all those for various reasons. But we are told we can be fruitful. We have that capacity to multiply and fill the earth. What's the other thing we were given as an authority?
Beings that rule and reign or govern the earth.
So when you watch the news, Mr. Mzungu, yeah, Mr. Darling, Mr. Hooch, what do you think? Are we sustaining the earth or are we ruining it?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think to some extent
Yeah.
we're ruining it at the moment.
Yeah. So we've been given the capacity, or rather the authority or the responsibility to rule and reign and govern the earth. So if we are letting it go, then we are not taking care of what we've been given in our hands to do. As physical beings, we need to take care of our physical environment, something I believe we should do. And this other one, this point?
Beings' needs that are met on a daily basis, physiological, biological, these needs can be paralleled or mirrored by our spiritual needs.
Fantastic. So whatever needs we've been talking about are very basic needs, and we said about food, and we said for us, you and me, we've met those basic needs, but then we need now to go on the growth needs, where now we are nurturing this relationship. For you being here tonight, it's part of supporting one another. It's part of growing this relationship. And I think we should tell the people the same things. And finally, God did what?
God gave man a name for identity in the physical.
Remember last week I was saying, if you stripped every other thing that you are, if I stripped my name, by the way, last week I was given a new name. My name is Jambi. Would you be calling me Jambi from now on?
Jambi.
Yeah, Hadassah. The great Esther. Yeah, those are the names I was given, the names last week. So we were saying, if you strip the names, your essence, you as a person, you could go be given a new name, you could still remain that person. So the spirit person is you. However, God gave mankind a name. We all have a name because that name identifies us and it has a meaning. Every name that we have has a meaning. Do you know what's the meaning of your name? Do you know?
I think it's champion.
Yes, there we go. So. Well done for remembering. You're a champion. And at the same time, you're named after Neil Armstrong, if I'm not wrong.
Well, I like to tell people that, but my mum assures me that's not true.
Oh, okay. So there we go.
But I'll still take it.
So if you're named after Neil Armstrong, there is a reason behind that. So people have to be careful when they name their children. What do the names mean? Every name that is given in the Bible has a meaning. Whether it's for pain or for joy, those names that people are given has a name. And then somebody said, yeah, this is okay, that is the same question. Okay, the same comment, there we go. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that from the beginning, God was aware of creating this physical being with its needs, but he has also given us authority in the physical beings, in the physical sense. He has given us a name to identify us, and those names have meaning. So go find out what your name is meaning. Shekoyemi Mary already said mine is God loves me. She already knows her name. That's what it means. And then Joshirish is saying the show is very spicy today. Can we add a little bit of kachumbari? Do you want to add a bit of kachumbari and some peppers? Right. So one of the other verses I would like people
chili.
to be some chili. Some chili may make it hot, maybe uncomfortable for some people, but yeah, we will go forward. So God gives us a name, right? And our parents give us a name. But most of the days nowadays, I don't think people really think about the meaning of the names they're giving their children, but it's important that we think about those names. So, and we are also supposed to give back this body to God. Last week I was saying about the heart. God requires our heart, and you missed it because I was talking about the way we used to sacrifice under a mugumo tree. Did you know that? That we used to worship under a tree, and then we would go and barbecue under this tree, and then God would consume this. I was told the whole animal will be burnt to ashes. And that's how God either accepted the sacrifice, just like in the Garden of Eden when Cain and Abel were giving offerings. One was acceptable, the other one wasn't acceptable. So one of the verses that I would like people to take today is Romans 12, verses 1 to 2. Would you be able to read that for me, please?
Yeah, therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will.
So we are coming towards the end. That's why I'm taking you there. Yeah, we've been given a body. I remember I said about giving our hearts to God, but God also requires our body. We've talked about so much stuff, but they seemed very general. But these things are specific to what God requires of us. He gives us names in the physical body. He identifies us. He also would like us to sacrifice our bodies to him. That is, whenever we do things that we are doing in this life, they should be pleasing to God. And that's the way we would be able to know the perfect will of God. What does he require of us? By offering our bodies, that means even our minds will not be conformed to the ways of the world. The world wants us to have lust. You see the pictures that are in media. The world wants us to believe that you can choose to be male or female. The world wants us to choose these stereotyping and discriminations that we think about. But we must remember that we do not conform to the patterns of this world, but we are transformed by the renewing of our minds so that we help this friend within survive. But how are we going to do that? It's you, friend number 3, helping me. Yes, and me helping the other friend number 3. And God, because he's our friend number 1, we want to do everything that will be in his will so that we can please this friend number 1. I hope it's making sense. Yeah, so one of the images that we reflect of God is that image of Jesus, right? And we don't want to reflect what is happening. You know, like yesterday on the news, what was it about fuel and gas and what was happening?
Yeah, so in the UK here, there's a shortage of lorry drivers, so the petrol was not getting to the fueling stations, and of course that's that leads to people panic buying. So everybody was queuing up at the petrol stations to fill the cars up, because they thought there was going to be a shortage, and that in itself caused a shortage. And that is I think that is where we fall down sometimes as children of God. We can be very self-centered, very selfish. We're self-present.
Yeah, self-centered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the word I was thinking of? preservation,
self-preservation.
In times of crisis,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't always think about others, and that's a challenge to us all.
The funny thing is, you know that theory we've been taught in evolution, which is taught in most schools in the West, survival for the fittest, right? However, this fittest doesn't always survive. If this gas was to run out for everyone, if it was just the resources were to run out completely, even the fittest with their money, they wouldn't be able, because they talk about fittest sometimes because you have the money to buy whatever fuel you have.
I'd be interested to know.
Yeah.
I'll ask the audience this, because I know we're joined by people all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Is that generally the case where you live as well, that if there's a shortage of something, people will immediately rush out and try and get their share? Or is it just a European thing?
So, there we go. And Mr. Neil Hutchings has asked you a question. Is it the same case of selfishness, people self-preserving themselves, running into the shops when they hear there is a shortage of tissue paper? Do you remember that? A shortage of fuel, a shortage of gas, a shortage of food. Is it a common occurrence where you are, whether you're in Kenya, whether you're in Tanzania, whether you're in Saudi Arabia? Do you think it's a common thing that happens, or people are able to help one another? So during lockdown, the first lockdown, the elderly people couldn't go to the supermarkets, but there were so many volunteers here in the UK who went on their behalf. And then one last question as we close the show, I'm going to ask, do you think it is easy or difficult to relate with one another as human beings? And that will be our last question for tonight as we come to a close. Do you think? So I'm asking you, and I'm also asking the audience this particular question. Do you think it's easy or difficult to relate with one another as human beings? Is it easy? Is it difficult? And why do you think, again, we have problems with one another? So like when we are running short of things, why do we just go selfishly? Why do we just think of ourselves? Yet I have the third person here who must help me to live out my physical being in my physical space.
I think we can relate with other human beings, but it takes work.
Yeah.
It's something you have to work at. It's not something that comes easy, but it's not something that's impossible. If you're willing to make an effort, it can happen.
Excellent. Somebody has answered you this question, and they said this. Nancy Blessed Wanjiko said, it's actually all over, I must say. And we forget that we cannot self-sustain ourselves. It's God who sustains. And then Shekoyemi Mary says, I think it happens everywhere. So one thing you and I, as children of God, must remember. I was
just going to say that the reason I was asking that question is because from my experience, it's been the people that have the least are more likely to share with others. It's those that have most that are most likely not to share. And that I was just wondering. So that was the reason for that question.
Maybe we'll be kind of researching and know whether, again, it's a person thing, or it's the level of status thing, or is it, again, survival for the fittest, or is it everybody for himself, or again, you had said the self-preservation and all that you had said. So we had read this one. So it's something that is happening everywhere. That's what Mary is saying. So in coming to a close, unless you have a question, I had given you a number to call, which is +1 205 905 6440. If you really would like to call, if you have a question, because we are coming to a close now, please do ask the question here. If you have one of your last comments to give, I know we've really taken up your time. Yes, and he didn't know he would survive 2 hours. He was like, Esther, how are we going to do for those 2 hours? I say, you will manage, because as we start talking, time will just flow. So thank you so much for staying with us. And as I come to a summary, let me just read Nancy Blessed Wanjiko's comment here. She's saying, it's not easy to relate with one another as human beings if we do do it on our own. That's why God says, my grace will be sufficient. And mostly if we see people as how Jesus sees them. I like that.
Yeah,
That is very powerful, Nancy. And thank you so much for every point that you have contributed tonight, because it's giving us the courage and the confidence to know that you've been with us and you've been tuned in. And even if you've missed some of the parts of this conversation, please go and revisit it and be able to read through. I brought a man here, this husband of mine. We are very different in the physical sense and also in the character and in the way we do things. Even the jobs we do, we are totally different beings, but we have learned to love one another and to live together, mostly because of the way we have learned God's ways. Yeah, God's way of loving. I can't say we fall out or anything, or we don't have those things. But you said you normally think, what would Jesus do in this kind of situation? He's more calmer than I am. When I'm annoyed, I'm loud and I do shout and I say things, but I think I haven't seen that side of him. So I am, if you were to talk about the one that is not calmer, it could be me. But I'm kind to him. I've been very kind to him. So you've known me when God has transformed me. And transformation is one of the words I would say we have read in Romans 12. Be transformed. Do not conform. You don't have to do things because the world is doing. Be transformed in the way your mind thinks. Be transformed into the mindness of Jesus. Just remember, Jesus was here as a human being, physical being, so that he could experience the world and we can be able to have an example of the person to look at. So today we've been talking about being physical, and you're saying congratulations, Muzungu, for surviving the entire show. Well done. Let me, on behalf of Nancy Muzungu says asante sana, and then Mama Ango or Angel Hodari says she's tuned in from Doha, Qatar, and it's very powerful. Thank you so much. So where did we begin the journey? It would have gone here and there, but we started on being physical. Side, I need you, I need him to be able to live out this life. If I'm not able to live with him peacefully in this space, then something is not quite right. So I have to start transforming my mind. I have to start thinking afresh, thinking in the newness of Christ, so that I can be able to survive. So we asked, what does it mean to be in the physical being? We exist in the physical, but we support this friend of ours that is in the spirit. And then when all these things have happened, there are many things that we can do to be able to live in these physical spaces. It's not just the physical food. It's not just the word of God. We need after that to be able to arise and relate to one another. Okay. After relating to one another, then we are able now to remember what happened in Genesis, that there were 4 people. Who are they? God, Adam, Eve, and the enemy appeared. So we have to be aware of that enemy who comes to ruin everything. This thing of rushing to buy things, it must be the devil whispering for you. You're going to die if you don't buy too much. Yeah, then you end up just accumulating for nothing. And maybe some of this thing, if it's food, it ends up in the bin because you don't have the capacity to eat all that food. So be aware of that number 4 person. He's the one who misleads us. And then Anne Ketu says, Esther, people think of themselves only, and it's very everywhere. Most of us are selfish. And you're saying also good night to everyone. So thank you so much. If you have any question, whether now or later, you can ask. Yeah, otherwise, I'm going to be saying thank you so much to everyone who participated in the show tonight. Even John Masharia, as you're joining in. Tunamaliza, we're just coming to the end. So what do we say? Asante sana. Asante sana kwa sababu ya kujiunga na sisi usiku wa leo. And John Mwangi said, this is my first time to tune in the program. I found it very informative and quite spicy. You make a lovely couple. All the best. And then thank you so much, Esther, for the entire show. You're a very good moderator and well balanced. I love and enjoyed the show. So mzungu wangu, asante sana. Karibu siku nyingine. That means you're welcome. Thank you so much. You're welcome another day to join in, because the audience have loved you. They have said you have contributed very well. So thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for your support. And hopefully another time we will be able to tune in. And Anne Ketu was tuning in Germany, not very far from where we are. Hopefully Germany has become better than the last time I visited there. So hopefully people are much more friendly. So Josie, if people don't have any question on the other side or comments, shall we be prepared to dance a little bit to some of the tunes? Oh, yes, there we go.
Siana situ, panera ya utani, leo ni ya bahari.
mwetetwa matwine arata ende inywe mwetetwa nigetha mukona moyo oroyo ne mwetere thakame nukwenda itherũ ngarama nĩndĩhe ende inywe mwetetwa matwine arata ende inywe mwetetwa nigetha mukona moyo oroyo ne mwetere thakame nukwenda itherũ ngarama nĩndĩhe oroyo nĩ ũhoro mũkwĩre nama na twathakana guo twagakwĩkĩrĩra oroyo nĩ ũhoro ũkwĩrĩirwo na twathakana guo woi twagakwĩrira inyuĩ mwetetwo matwine arata inyuĩ mwetetwo nĩgetha mũkona muoyo oroyo nĩ mwetere thakame nukwenda itherũ ngarama nĩndĩhe inyuĩ mwetetwo matwine arata inyuĩ mwetetwo nĩgetha mũkona muoyo oroyo nĩ mwetere thakame nukwenda itherũ ngarama nĩndĩhe ndiretona wendo munene ta uyu Jesu kwirutira akwe ni undu wa kirete wendo ta uyu kigerekanio nake ni wendo wi hinya muingi kuri gikuo inyuĩ mwetetwo matwine arata inyuĩ mwetetwo nigetha mukona muoyo oroyo nĩ mwetere thakame nukwenda itherũ ngarama nĩndĩhe inyuĩ mwetetwo matwine arata inyuĩ mwetetwo nigetha mukona muoyo oroyo nĩ mwetere thakame nukwenda itherũ ngarama nĩndĩhe kwanagia magoko na mamĩthemba mabũri na ng'ombe makuororohia mehia matirĩ mahota gũtheria mehia mothe thakame ya Jesu noyo ĩtheragia inyuĩ mwetetwo matwine arata inyuĩ mwetetwo nĩgetha mũkona muoyo oroyo nĩ mwetere thakame nukwenda itherũ ngarama nĩndĩhe inyuĩ mwetetwo
Jambo, mimi naitwa Jeremy Damaris and of course nikiongea kitu huwa nataka kuwa kwa ground mimi mwenyewe, na nilikuwa naongea kuhusu Happy Gardens a few weeks ago, and actually I went back to US, then I came back because I wanted to make sure I see and I know what I'm talking about. And that's why today I'm here actually at Happy Gardens with my beautiful ladies here from Optiven. Maggie here, ebu wasalimia watazamaji.
Hi viewers, we are saying hi from Happy Gardens. We want to salute you and welcome you at Happy Gardens Kitengela.
My name is Esther and we are right here at Happy Gardens Kitengela.
Exactly.
Yes.
Kitengela nimekuja mara mingi, lakini sijawahi fika hapa.
Yes.
This is one of the, actually I've been seeing this. What is this right here?
This is Kampala University.
In university?
Yes.
Wow, so means Kampala University is for Kenyans and watu wa Uganda watakuja kusomea? Kenyans.
Yes, and also from the diaspora.
Wow.
They can still join.
Na mlipataje shamba hapa jameni, next to such a big institution?
Na si hii tu pekee. Unaona tukiingia tuliona KAG University.
KAG?
Kenya Assemblies of God University.
Exactly.
Tukiingia tena sasa kuna hii Kampala University.
So
that means this is a very prime area.
Wow,
yes.
This is awesome. And of course that's why I accepted actually to be an ambassador for Optiven in diaspora kwa sababu najua, because I know all their projects. Now as I can see, naona kuna kazi inaendelea. Hebu tuanze hapa. Sasa muniambie kuhusu Happy Gardens, and of course we're going to start with you, Faith, Esther.
Yes. Happy Gardens, where we are right now, is just 1.5 kilometers, if I may say using kilometers, from the Namanga Highway. It is gated. and it is controlled. Very, very important to note. Then barabara mahali unaona tumesimama, you can tell about the roads. Then hii project, another thing ambayo because umeniuliza kuhusu Happy Gardens, ni kwamba tutaweka solar street lights.
Okay.
Na tunaweka generously along all the streets.
One thing I like about Optiven is this thing about a gated community. Because when nimepita hapa nikaona manyumba zingine bwana ni za kushtua, ni ile kubwa kabisa. So now hapa tukisema ni gated community, it means mko na structural plans, mko na ile watu watajenga.
Here at Happy Gardens,
yes,
tuko na designs, house designs.
Right.
You can either do a bungalow or a mansion.
Okay.
We are not allowing flats or apartments.
Okay.
And the beauty about this project is that we already have a borehole.
Okay.
We've already sunk a borehole,
Yes.
which we usually do more than 250 meters below the water level, and then we are going to connect water along the main. So for you, Jeremy, once you invest here, you'll only need to pay 15,000 Kenya shillings to pull water from the main to your plot. And then we are also bringing electricity on site.
That's
we have
true.
partnered with Kenya Power. Electricity will be on site. So yako ni kupull tu stima kutoka kwa kikingi kuangusha kwako. Yes.
Wow, this is amazing. And of course, I cannot say much about Happy Gardens because as you can see by it yourself, you can see actually wewe mwenyewe unaona ni mahali kuna watu wanaishi mahali hapa. So what we are saying is come and take a portion.
Yes.
Sasa kuna watu wanauliza semeni hii bei. Unajua last time uliniambia ni 1.7. Ilikuwa 1.75.
Trying to say is this is the time to take advantage of that 1.795. Na unajua tunasema nini? If you don't have the full amount of money, you can pay a deposit and then tunakupatia a period of 12 months to make the balance of the payment.
Sasa hata nitaongeza namna gani? So what I always tell people is this, wewe fuga safari. Enda pale inaitagwa plaza gani pale Nairobi? Absa Plaza. Ongea na Magi, ongea na Faith. Wakulete hapa uone wewe mwenyewe. Because that's why I pay my gharama, ninakuja to the ground to see. Hii university nilikuwa nimeona kwa video nikafikiria wananichezea. But of course from here to the university is actually a walking distance. It's around 50 meters kufika pale or maybe 100 meters. So now mtu akitaka kubook saa hii anawekelea nini?
Right now, mwenye anataka kubook saa hii with 50,000 you book and then we give you 2 weeks to raise the deposit. Just call this number +254 722 355 107.
Call me on +254 721 614 726.
Sasa mimi mkiniona hapo sasa hawa ni watu ni wa sales. Unasikia venye wanaongea vizuri sana. So for me kazi yangu ni kwenda make sure hivyo wanasema is it true ama ni kuuza tu. So that's why nimesema hapa Happy Gardens nimesema ni tick. Na kupeleka mahali ninunua hapo Victoria Gardens hapo najua of course ni tick. Sasa hiyo wamesema kitaenda kuangalia ni kuambia ama ni tick. Jeremy Damares here, God bless you. Kutoka hapa Happy Gardens Kitengela.
We value you.
Thank you, we value you.
Inspiring possibilities with Optiven.